Hello, I'm Kathy Greven from Greven & Co. We are financial strategists for life, using financial planning and accounting tools and software to help clients build wealth. And today I am joined by the lovely Kate from The Huddle, and Kate is a conflicts management consultant, which I thought would be very interesting in terms of getting her 20 years of service to a variety of conflict management scenarios to help us weave our way through the conflicts. So welcome, Kate.
Thank you very much for having me on the podcast.
On the podcast, on the video, you name it. Thank you for coming.
It's a pleasure.
I wanted to find out from you, 20 years in conflict management, what drew you into conflict management?
A lot.
Most people run away from it.
Yeah, no. What drew me to it was I've been involved with people in high levels of conflict for my whole career, so 40 plus years. And I was working at a community legal centre. I managed a community legal centre in my 20s, and I just realised people they don't listen to each other. Right. So a lot of conflict is because we don't communicate effectively. We don't talk about the things we need to talk about. We make a lot of assumptions. And I was there's so much pain associated with conflict. And yet, to me, every time there was a conflict, no matter what I was dealing with, it also provided an opportunity. And it's like, how do you seize the day? So I ended up representing people at the Social Security Appeals Tribunal, and then became appointed to the Social Security Appeals Tribunal. And again, It was all about people's stories. It was, how do you tell your story so people can hear you? Because if you can't tell your story and be heard, then chances are you're not going to get the results that you're looking for. And so realistically, I did start law. I didn't finish my law degree for a whole range of personal reasons, but I then moved over to mediation.
Right.
And that was probably a much better fit for me anyway. But it's very much about helping people tell their stories and communicate effectively so that they can be heard. But what happens is that people so often want to blame because they're hurting, and so they want to hurt the other person, and that doesn't result in a good outcome.
No, it doesn't.
And so mediation was a great way for me to help people learn about empathy and being clear about what you want, but not necessarily at all cost.
No, exactly. Yes. And so what does a typical day look like when you're dealing with, people's issues?
Well, it can look like a lot of things, but it's a lot of listening. So I do a lot of listening, and often through effective listening and using validation and recognising the stress that people are going through and believing them, because it's really important to believe people, is that it reduces the drama in the conflict. And once we've stopped being so stressed, then people can think more clearly.
True.
And if they can think clearly, they can start making decisions and working out what they want. But often what they start with is telling me about their pain and how terrible things are. And what I'm looking to do is to move them from that to being able to start thinking about what do they want. So I do a lot of listening. I do a lot of working with teams and organisations, but then listening to different people. And it's so fascinating because you can have one scenario, one set of facts, and everybody tells me their story. It's like a television program. And it's all different. Like everybody's point of view and their perspective is different dependent on how they've experienced it. And they're all right. They're all accurate.
True.
And so I do a lot of that. And then it's about, okay, what really is happening here? And are we fixing the right problem, or are we just wanting to be nice and make this go away? Or are we doing something which is really surface level and actually the problem is a lot deeper, and let's go deeper, because conflict is such a wonderful opportunity to really explore what's triggering that conflict.
True.
Because people are good and they've usually got very good intentions. The conflict is telling you it's really important to them.
Yes, correct.
Yeah.
And you've got your own business, The Huddle.
Yep.
How did that come about? Because you've got about over 200 people that you work with.
Well, it's not 200, but it's The Huddle. Well, I was working by myself. It was just me for a long time. And then COVID hit. And for a lot of my colleagues, particularly just doing coaching, for some reason the work dried up, but I can tell you the conflict work didn't. And I think it was that people were so stressed during COVID and they didn't know how to manage the conflict. And some of the conflict was people working from home and they didn't know how to lead other people in that process. There was just a lot of stress. So COVID became my best friend. And then suddenly it's just like, I can't do the amount of work that's coming through the door.
Right.
So I have accumulated other people who assist me to do this.
To deliver.
And great people. And great people who are not scared of conflict, because you can't afford to be scared of conflict. And conflict, it feels, I mean, I understand it feels icky. It can feel really icky and people can be not their best selves, but they're just telling you they're stressed. And so if you're not scared of it, it's
you got to lean into it.
You got to lean in. You got to lean in.
Yep.
But leaning in and listening and bringing the temperature down, then we just get better outcomes.
I
love it.
Very important, bringing the temperature down. And so many times you see, it getting physical.
Oh yeah.
And that's a scary. And that's escalating, and it's getting to a scarier point. How do leaders deal with conflict? What makes a good leader?
What makes a good leader is a leader who listens,
right,
who doesn't try and fix the problem, because often what happens in leadership is people bring their problems to the leader, and the leader can often feel like it's their job to fix the problem.
Right.
But it's not necessarily their job to fix the problem.
No.
What they can end up doing is being involved in a triangle conversation where they don't actually help because they go into rescue mode and people are not having the conversations they need to have.
Right.
So a good leader will listen and then go back to the person and say, what do you want to do about it? And how can I support you? Rather than leave it with me, I'll fix it.
Yes.
Because leave it with me and I'll fix it just creates a bigger problem than you started with.
And more expectations from the person who's having the conflict that the leader's not on their side.
Absolutely.
And there can be some, conflict between them then, isn't it?
Absolutely. They throw them into the drama triangle.
Correct.
And you just sort of go, oh, and the chain of command breaks down and, it's messy.
Yes.
Don't do that.
So they need to listen and offer support.
Offer support. But the other thing too is to learn from that moment. So if somebody's coming to tell you that there's a conflict or they're dobbing on somebody else or something's not working in their workplace, it provides that leader with such a great opportunity to go, I wonder how I might be unintentionally contributing to this. And it might be that they need to be clearer about roles and responsibilities or expectations or something. Or it could be they need to provide somebody with more training. Or it could be that two people think that they're both responsible for the same thing and so they're jostling as to who's going to be the most important. There's always more to it. And if the leader can reflect and actually own some of it, they can potentially then be much more helpful in that situation. If the problem is always the other people and those people need to fix themselves, then that's also problematic as well.
Well, that doesn't help because you're in management, so you need to manage people, don't you? So you need to have that empathetic ear and to be able to collaborate with them.
Yeah.
But if you're a leader, you can stand back and you can probably see the issue clearer.
Mm-hmm.
But you're saying don't tell them the solution. You're saying get them in a room and...
Yeah. Well, the thing is that if you can get them, so if they ultimately need to have a conversation, whoever's in conflict with somebody else, they need to have a conversation because chances are they don't feel like they've been heard. They've probably made assumptions about other people's intentions. There might be a critical piece of information that once they have that piece of information, they go, I didn't know that.
Yes.
So it provides an opportunity for the whole thing, like, that's a problem. Well, now this is what we can do to address that. Like they can problem solve that together.
Yes.
So if a leader can say, look, this feels like it's uncomfortable. What do you want to do about it? Well, it'd be good to speak to this person, but I'm feeling really uncomfortable. Well, how about I come with you and we'll have that chat together?
Yes.
Well, then suddenly it's a much easier conversation for everybody. And the leader can take some responsibility. Look, I understand there's a problem here. It seems like there's a misunderstanding. Let's just talk it through. And it doesn't have to be scary.
No, so it's like mediation, really.
Well, it is like mediation.
So you're actually, the leader should be, or get someone like yourself, an independent person that may not necessarily show that there's any bias.
Yeah.
And that can talk to both parties and then actually, build give them some tools. So what sort of tools could they
Well, one of them is to own your own
use?
stuff. So it's often helpful if you've got an entrenched conflict for that leader or whoever's going to help assist that conversation, and it might be just supporting them to think about and to prepare, but to just sort of think through, what am I feeling? What's the impact of what's happened? What assumptions am I making right now that might be wrong?
Yes.
What were my expectations? And what was the other person's expectation? So just get a bit curious about the situation. And then when we start that conversation, it's like, when this happened, I was feeling really uncomfortable, but I didn't really understand why you behaved that way that day. And I've assumed a few things and they're probably wrong. Can we discuss this?
Yeah.
So it's about giving people some tools to be really curious and to unpack those assumptions, because assumptions are so dangerous.
They are divisive, aren't they?
Yeah. And they're usually wrong.
That's true.
Yeah.
I mean, so much so that, you get, when you start a job, you get people saying, well, this is the way we do things here.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, what does that mean? So you've got that cultural bias as well when you walk in. So how do you change that mentality?
Well, I think it's a leadership. It's a leadership opportunity. Onboarding's a really interesting thing. This is the way we do things, but what does that mean? Are we clear, or are we just glossing over a whole lot of stuff?
Well, these are the rules. But these are the underlining rules that you need to be aware of that aren't written anywhere, but you should know them.
You should know them, and no one's going to tell you.
That's right.
Yeah. I think it's one of the rules of leadership, I think, is know thyself.
Yes.
And know why we do things the way we do things. And it's really interesting working with organisations that when they have that sort of across the board conflict, like we've got a culture where we've got blame or something like that. It's like, well, the way we've done things around here is that we're all in competition with each other, and and they don't mean it to be like that. That's not their intention at all. But because we want to be high performing, or it's a cutthroat industry or whatever it is, we can make money a priority, or we can make success a priority, and we don't always make people the priority.
No.
And so it's what do we want, and how do we achieve it? And so it's really valuable to just slow down from time to time. Are we clear about what our priorities are and what we're trying to achieve and how we're doing it? And where are we seeing the challenges? What's the behaviour we're seeing? And the people will tell you, like, you'll either have high turnover or low attendance, or something else will be happening that will give you some feedback that there's a problem. And often I see the organisations, there are people who will stay and they'll be quite unhappy, but they really love the work, or
they're just comfortable.
Or they actually like the people, they just don't like some things that we do sometimes, or whatever it is. But you get lower productivity when you're just putting up with poor behaviour or that blame culture. Blame culture is so toxic.